What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome one and all once again to another exciting, invigorating, and exhilarating episode of Plug and Play, the best, we'll go with best, the best video game show podcast on the entire internet. The whole thing, even the deep web. I've looked. Don't worry.
Are we not going for the only gaming podcast? I thought that was our thing. We were the only one.
The only gaming podcast. Now, I did.
Are we the best because we're the only gaming podcast?
No. I've got some bad news for you, Rob, before we start. And it's that in a secret underground bunker hidden in deepest, darkest North Korea.
Okay.
There is
very risky
illegal pirate radio running
Yes.
A gaming podcast that broadcasts only to select encrypted channels or on the dark web. So unfortunately, yes, there is another one, but we're the only mainstream one, the only one.
Okay, that's
the
good.
only one. It's a totally original idea, which
this has never been done
by no one has ever been done. So,
No. It's really weird that you think gaming's been around for quite a while, and you'd think somebody would have put words to sound.
At least a decade. Gaming has been a thing for at least a decade now, for sure, for sure. I'm certain that it's a good idea. We'll find a market for it and it'll have traction. Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to get right into the show. So, I am host number 1 or 2, Jack, and
I mean, as far as you know, we're currently your host number 1, and I am Rob,
the other one.
The other one.
Oh, I've been relegated into the other one already. We're only 2 minutes in, right? So, shall we get right into the news?
Yes. I mean, as well, we should probably mention that this isn't our first take of this.
No, we did one last week, and it yielded fruit.
It yielded fruit, but certainly.
However, the fruit was inedible, so we
very sour to the taste.
We recycled it. Well, it was more salty, to be honest.
Salty
actually, on my end.
Just mouthfuls of salt. It was just disgusting. It was everywhere.
You could puree that fruit, and it would just be the Dead Sea.
You'd literally be turning it into salt.
Yeah.
So rather than, unlike other gaming podcasts, if they existed, rather than having a sort of set, this is the week's news, we're going to try and go for a more sort of timeless.
Yeah, we're going to do the prequel trilogy to this week's gaming news.
What? So we're predicting it before it happens, or?
Right, I'll be Hayden Christensen. You can be Natalie Portman, and we'll try and make the next hour of dialogue as ludicrous and boring as we possibly can, owing to true prequel stuff. No, I'm kidding. But
so we can go straight into the news, and one of the biggest talking points this sort of
millennium
year.
Yep.
This year being the current year, is the loot box controversy.
Oh, the loot box controversy. Do you know-
so there's been some more news about the loot box controversy, but I think we should probably do a general
a little brief primer on it. So the question is, are loot boxes gambling?
I would argue yes. At least in their current form, they are gambling, yes.
And as such, should they be subject, in the UK at least, to the same laws that are applicable to gambling?
Well, has it gone through Parliament yet? They have to at least
they responded,
discuss it.
They responded to the petition. I was going to sort of talk about, so for those not in the know, there was a petition to the UK Parliament a few weeks ago, raising concern, I guess, or awareness about sort of the rise of, it's effectively digital gambling, right? So digital gambling in the form of loot boxes. And they did actually respond to the petition. So we have a great petitioning system here in the UK for any international listeners.
It is. For serious things, it's very good.
Yeah,
but you also get a lot of stupid
You also get like a lot of
through.
troll garbage, which the poor secretary, minimum wage secretary intern has to write responses to. So they sift through anything that gets over about 10,000 signatures. I think it's exactly 10,000 signatures, actually. Yeah. So
I believe so. Yeah.
Anything over that, some parliamentary office has to sift through and respond to, and you get legitimate stuff like the I don't know,
like this one.
Yeah, the loot box controversy and all the rest of it. But you also get like, please get Parliament to legally debate whether or not traps are gay or something like that.
Really? Is that one that's actually
Well, no,
through?
but I'm just giving. I'm sort of giving a brief idea. Although, actually, do you think I could get 10,000 signatures if I made a UK Parliament petition?
I don't think that
Does
would
that
be
count
advisable.
as wasting
no.
government resources at time? Yeah, I don't know. I probably won't bother anyway.
Yeah, but loot boxes. So yeah, so do you know what the response was from the UK government?
Yeah, I'm just bringing it up now. They sent an email response to everybody who replied that says, the Gambling Commission has strong powers to regulate gambling and is monitoring convergence between gambling and video games closely. Great, that's cool. The government is committed to protecting children from harm. Now, that was the first line. It sounds like they're kind of making their excuses in advance a little bit.
Yeah.
But where gambling facilities are offered to British consumers using in-game items, using in-game items that can be converted into cash or traded for items of real-world value, then such activities must be licensed by the Gambling Commission. So loot boxes under that definition don't need to go through the Gambling Commission because you can't cash them out. They have no monetary value. They're sort of used and expended by virtue of opening them. So it's not like CSGO Lotto or something like that, where it's an actual digital item. And digital items of limited quantity that can be cashed out for real world value. It's essentially a form of cryptocurrency at that point. Yeah. I would argue that what's the Steam item that you can trade? I never actually got into Steam trading and stuff, but like I know that
trading cards.
Yeah, trading cards. That's it. Yeah.
Main Steam one. Yeah.
But you can sell them, right? Can't you?
Yeah.
And there's sort of like an actual market for
them. Yeah.
For
well, the
Steam
items. There's a lot of, from what I recall, there's a lot of dodgy behaviour going on. Well, at least there was. I don't know if Steam Direct has actually cleared it up in that people would make terrible games, get them through Steam Greenlight just to exploit the trading card system. Yeah.
So like
to make money through that.
That's effectively it has less of an element of RNG to it as to what you're actually buying and selling is what it says on the page. But still, like the fact that it can be sold and cashed out for real money upon selling it, I suppose it goes into the Steam wallet, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or can you cash it out to PayPal? But whatever.
My main argument
it's analogous. It's analogous to cryptocurrency, but loot boxes obviously are not. So they're not bound by the same kind of monetary or gambling regulations as a currency-based gambling would be.
Yeah, I mean, my main sort of argument against loot boxes is that while you're right, there is no direct sort of, you can't then make money off loot boxes.
Yeah.
It's still employing the same sort of techniques that gambling uses to get people addicted and to get them spending large, needless amounts of money.
So it's based on the idea that you don't know the exact value of what you're going to get when you buy the product, basically. And one could say that it's like, in the way that it operates and in the fact that the usefulness of what you get out of the box will vary from item to item, and obviously by virtue of that box to box, it's like a pack of trading cards. So trading card games like Pokemon or Magic or whatever else the kids are playing nowadays,
the youngsters.
They'll come in like these foil, like booster packs will come in these foil containers, and you won't necessarily know the cards that you're going to get. Therefore, you won't necessarily you won't necessarily have any assurance of the monetary value or rarity of each card, right? And obviously the value of each card will go up with the rarity. So if you get a super rare pack, it's worth more. It's to stop people from scalping all the super rare cards and, bumping the price up and all the rest of it. And so that obviously you buy more booster packs in the hope that you will be able to resell those cards if you're so inclined, or if you're in the business of trading trading rare, lucrative trading cards. But anyway, the system of kind of like random contents is similar to that of trading cards. But the thing is, you can resell the contents of a trading card pack. It's a real physical, real world item that you possess and have ownership of, and that you can trade for other things. But in something like Overwatch, for example, you can't trade items back and forth. You can't put them on a market and sell them. You can't cash them out in any way. Once the loot box is open, the value of whatever's in the loot box, it's subjective
Overwatch,
anyway.
Overwatch comparatively, loot boxes are still not a particularly wonderful concept.
Yeah, they're kind of
Overwatch
trash.
is at least on the lesser sense of the scale in that, the items that you're getting are, quotation marks, just cosmetic. That's not really an excuse, but they are items that other players will just see. But a lot of more recent titles, convenient segue, offer loot boxes that will give you rewards that will give you a competitive edge. Which do you think that's worse or?
What loot boxes designed to give them? Okay, so when it's just cosmetic, I think it's excusable when it's just cosmetic, with two sort of provisos there. If it's just cosmetic, and you have the chance of getting duplicate items they won't add any value to your experience. If you get a duplicate item, it doesn't do anything. So I know in Overwatch, duplicate items turn into in-game currency.
Yes, not a lot.
Yeah,
but they turn
not a
into
lot
some.
of it. So the de
you get a handful
facto
of change.
The de facto value of that loot box, like the absolute minimum possible value, is the only value that should be advertised on the purchase page. Yeah. Basically. So this loot box is absolutely worth this much in-game currency and no more unless you get lucky. So there needs to be like a warning stating that if you buy this loot box, you acknowledge that you are paying for the value of this minimum amount of in-game currency that you could get from a pack of duplicates. And if you get anything else, well, that's fantastic, right? And then hopefully nobody would be stupid enough to buy loot boxes. Yeah. A lot of it is the responsibility of the consumer to buy and act responsibly when they purchase digital goods, right?
I guess, but if they're exploiting gambling tendencies in people, and maybe people who are particularly, people that suffer with gambling
But at
issues.
the same time, when it's just cosmetic, it's a voluntary exchange. If it's not cosmetic, I would actually prefer any skill-based items to be unlocked by virtue of just playing the game, really. I'd like all items to be able to be unlocked by virtue of just playing the game. That's the way it was. I played Halo 3 online back in the day. You could even go up as far as recon armor, right? Everybody wanted recon. If you remember the days of it. Did you ever play Halo 3?
I never owned Halo 3. I played it like at other people's houses.
You must have heard the kids at school like, oh man, ogling enviously recon armor. That shit was like tits to these kids back in the day. It was like
clearly we hung around in different circles.
Well, yeah, no, like I swear to God, you would think like at the time I was a spotty, greasy, sweaty, hormonal 13-year-old boy. All my friends were the same age as me, and they talked about recon armor more than they talked about women. It was absolutely incredible. But you unlocked it by playing the game.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Those were the days.
Because it really it felt good to have earned it and to have achieved it. And of course, you still do have to earn the money that you're spending on the loot boxes. But at the same time, man, come on, I paid 30 quid for the game, right? Or 40, 50, however much it is, right?
If it's in America, you'll be paying like $60. It'll be about £60.
It's $60. And you want me to buy the season pass, and you want me to buy the DLC, and you want me to buy, get the pre-order bonus, the limited special edition. Ubisoft actually stated that their goal in aggressively merchandising and lobotomizing their games to different digital products is to turn a $60 customer into a $100 plus customer per purchase, you know. But Ubisoft, actually, I don't think they're the most oily example of bad digital practices.
Would probably be one of the worst, or Activision.
And I'm glad you mentioned Activision. And I don't know whether or not you knew about this, but 3 weeks ago, I know this isn't in the topic list either, 3 weeks ago, they filed a patent.
Oh, the patent. I know of the patent.
Do you know of it? Do you know what it contains?
Yes, I can give you my
understanding rough interpretation of it.
So the patent works along the lines of matchmaking in multiplayer games. You will get matched with people that have nice loot box rewards that you don't have. So you might get matched with someone who's got, I don't know, flame-covered armor, in the hope that you'll see another player in his flame-coloured armor go, "Oh, I really want that flame-coloured armor," and buy a loot box. Is that close? Correct?
Yeah, there are rumors, I think, actually. So it's not just that. There's
Is it
difficulty.
worse?
Yeah, it's worse. There's difficulty manipulation as well.
Oh,
so
good.
they will deliberately match a person who has not bought loot boxes or not got any sort of loot box exclusive items or DLC. They'll deliberately match them with players that are above their skill level.
Yeah.
So they're beating you, and they have the item that you want. So if you get that item,
and then ping, a little window pops up, buy a loot box,
saying, "Oh, well done! You know, you bought this loot box." And then what it'll do is it'll artificially tweak the difficulty to be way easier, so you feel real good after you buy that loot box. It's a really trashy, scummy thing to do, honestly. And I'm glad I don't really play AAA games that much. I mean, speaking of like,
well, I mean, a quick point while we're talking about Activision still.
Yeah.
I mean, we must remember, Jack, that loot boxes have been around for almost 80, 90 years. I mean, if you remember back to history lesson on the beaches of Normandy, during World War II, the loot boxes would rain from the sky onto, the beaches of Normandy, and British soldiers would gather around as they opened the loot box to see what cards their fellow soldier had earned.
Ah, yes, of
you
course. Yes, no.
The accurate history that we see portrayed
obviously, when you're
Call
in
of Duty World War II.
When you're in the boats and you're about to bank on the shore of Normandy and enter a bloody battle, and you're rolling for those loot boxes, and you're like, "Oh, damn. I hope I get an automatic weapon this time. Otherwise that Nazi's going to shoot me." Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, do you not remember the history lessons we were taught?
Yes.
At least
at the eulogy, at the sort of remembrance eulogy, Derek will be going, "Well, Brian was a great man, and I wish he could be here today. But he opened a loot box on the beach in Normandy, and he only got a handgun."
A handgun and some banana stickers to go on his armor.
Handgun and some banana stickers. He died, but mate, his helmet were fucking flash by the time they were finished with him. Oh god, that's really sick. Actually, Jesus Christ. Yeah. They were shooting all of those black female Nazis, right? Just like they really had in World War II.
Yeah.
Right, Call of Duty.
So, well, you were going to make another point, or?
Oh yeah, no. No, what was I going to talk about?
You finished on?
Do you know? Like, I was just going to go into general scummy AAA business. It's not really limited, actually, this one to AAA, but the recent Assassin's Creed Origins controversy. Do you know about that?
Which one?
Oh, DRM, man, DRM.
Oh, the DRM.
DRM's
always a massive controversy.
Oh yeah, no, DRM's always a massive controversy, right? But quadruple stacked DRM above DRM. So like you launch it through Steam and then it has to go through Uplay. So that's two forms of DRM already. So like Steam has its own kind of like every game gets Steam DRM. That's perfectly fine. That's tolerable because the service that Steam provides and the convenience of Steam is a greater benefit than the Steam DRM is a detractor. Steam's fantastic. 100%.
Everyone loves Steam.
Absolutely fine. If it was the only DRM on games, Every game could have DRM, and I wouldn't bat an eyelid. Then you have to go through Uplay, and it's like, all right, fine. EA's got their own spastic little launcher. Activision kind of now they're branching into the Blizzard, they're branching into Battle.net, which is okay. You know, that existed in Blizzard's universe anyway. EA has Origin. Origin has decent customer service, to be fair.
Yeah, Origin.
So hey, Uplay's got to have one of it. Uplay's got to have one of its. Yeah, Ubisoft's got to have one of its own, right? You know, enter Uplay, and it's just like, oh well, you know.
Okay, so that's DRM number 2.
It's kind of pointless, and it's yet another program that runs in the background and saps resources while I play the game. It's like, all right, fine, but as long as it's not, you know, phoning home constantly. Then we have Denuvo. Denuvo anti-tamper, yay! Denuvo anti-tamper, which that does constantly phone home to check to see whether or not you're playing a stolen version of the game, and it's like, you know, form of encryption, whatever. It sucks. And I remember everybody freaked out when the PC port of Sonic Mania was delayed for 2 weeks, and they said, oh yeah, it's to make tweaks and adjustments and stuff, guys. Yeah, totally, sure. Now, they spent that 2 weeks adding Denuvo.
Yeah.
So, like, it's Sega company policy to use a variant of Denuvo in all of their games now. So Sonic Forces has it too. But they've got it, like, tweaked to the point at which it only phones home once every few months or so now. And it's just like, yeah, it's relatively inoffensive. Just download the cracked version, because Denuvo's ineffective against crackers now. But the big one in Assassin's Creed Origins is VM Protect. Now, do you know what VM Protect does?
I do not know. Does it call home a lot and send a postcard and 6 selfies?
Not exactly. So what it does is certain code in the game runs within a virtual machine. And this virtual machine is designed to interpret instructions, like emulate instructions for an imaginary CPU architecture that doesn't exist. So it has like a proprietary VM Protect architecture, right? So it's interpreted through VM Protect and then fed back to the rest of the game, right? And it's basically a form of instruction encryption. So that certain parts of the game. Well, the problem is you're running certain parts of the game through a fucking virtual machine. So
that doesn't sound particularly efficient.
No, it's not. It absolutely tanks performance by about 30 to 40%. And the people who are trying to crack it looked at the Assassin's Creed Origins process, and they were like, this fucking VM Protect shit is being, like, the CPU is calling it all the time. Like, the process calls for it constantly. You know, every second at least, there'll be like a new VM Protect call, and then you've got Denuvo phoning home, and then Uplay looking for auto updates in the background and doing whatever stupid DRM encryption shit that it does, and then Steam sitting on top of all of that, and people are wondering why their Assassin's Creed Origins performance is not as advertised. And there's a channel called Linus Tech Tips. Which I was talking to you a little bit about before stream. But second in command over at Linus Tech Tips is a guy called Luke. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of his last name. He's Canadian, so he's a French last name. So Luke Lafreniere, I think his name is. So on Twitch, his alias is Luke_Laffer. So that's Luke_LAFR.
There we go. Free promotion for him.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, I don't mind. Not that he needs it or anything.
Does he deserve it?
But he's a super awesome guy, and
okay, that's fine then. If he's a super awesome guy,
I cheered and I sent him some bits. And he's a really cool Twitch streamer in his downtime. Those guys are some of the most, literally the most industrious YouTubers I've ever seen. We could talk all fucking day about how much I love Linus Tech Tips, but like Luke, he has, I think it's a Core i7 5960X.
Yeah.
So that's not just, you know, your run-of-the-mill desktop Core i7 from, you know, a year or two ago. That is the, like, i7 high-end Extreme Edition that I think you needed a special motherboard platform exclusive to that. And it has, like, 6 cores and 12 threads. It might even be, like, a 16-thread part. Yeah. It's ridiculous and overclocked as well. And he's getting, like, upper 40s, low 50s frame rate in Assassin's Creed Origins.
Whoa.
A game designed to run at 30 frames per second on a PlayStation 4
console, yeah.
Right. And by comparison, the PlayStation 4 is 8-core in inverted commas. It's 2 4-core blocks. The AMD Jaguar that the PS4 runs on is effectively a mobile chip. It's like it's more analogous to a mobile phone SoC than it is an actual like desktop full-fat x86 platform. And for some reason, it can run at 30 FPS pretty comfortably on that, right? And the limiting factor there isn't even necessarily the CPU. It might even be the graphics, okay? So it's not necessarily a particularly poorly optimized game, but for some reason, it doesn't scale from what is essentially a 1.6 gigahertz 8-core phone chip to like a 4 gigahertz 8-core desktop chip with hyperthreading.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
This is getting very technical now.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
We're going to have people switching up.
But basically, what I'm saying is it's almost 2.5 times the clock speed, double the core count, and like 4 times the clock, the instructions per cycle. And it can barely run this game at 30 FPS. The console versions, they work absolutely fine. And it's like, well, there's something wrong with the fact that the performance doesn't scale here. So either the engine's balked, which I very much doubt, actually, because even Assassin's Creed Unity, a lot of the problems that Assassin's Creed Unity had at the time, because it was notoriously bugged out the arse on release, right?
Yeah, I remember it well.
A lot of the problems with that game is that it was just radically over-ambitious for the CPUs that were around in consoles at the time.
Yeah.
So Origins is dramatically better optimized and running on a patched version of the engine. So it should, in theory, be a hell of a lot better, especially on PC. But it just isn't scaling for some reason.
There's quite obviously something there that's
something there is amiss. And Ubisoft said, "Oh, the DRM doesn't have any performance impact. Doesn't have any performance impact." No, it's just dumb. But the people trying to crack it are like, "This is having a performance impact." You're getting famous, very, very technologically knowledgeable streamers having serious problems running the game. Something's fishy, right? So basically, Ubisoft's fucking up all their games with DRM again.
I mean,
and I don't doubt that virtually every other mainstream publisher is doing the same thing.
I mean, as a sort of roundup, at least for that Ubisoft bit, I find it rather ironic. This is the same company that said that DRM does not stop piracy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like...
I think it might have been in a tweet or in something. Ubisoft said DRM does not stop piracy.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work.
Stop them.
It works for like the first 3 weeks of release. But do you know what I would do? If I was... There is certain etiquette in the cracking and like keygen sort of... well, I'm not going to say the piracy community because... It has more in common with the demo scene mentality than it does with like just one-ton piracy. But the cracking community, anyway, that's sort of that circle of people. There's an etiquette, right? They don't upload games to the Pirate Bay that didn't have DRM to begin with. If you find a game that was released simultaneously on Steam with DRM and on something like Good Old Games, DRM free, the version that the pirates will upload to the Pirate Bay or to Kickass torrents or whatever will be a cracked version of the Steam release, not the already DRM free Good Old Games version. So there is etiquette there. So what I would say is if pirates would, or crackers would abstain from releasing a crack for the game until, let's say, a month. I think a month is fair, like a month after the game's initial release. So they miss the launch window by a considerable margin, the launch window in which most sales take place. Yeah. And presumably, like, publishers will care about it a lot less. If a lot of the big crackers came out and said, like, etiquette here, you know, we're not going to release it until a month after it's due, because really the main party that it ends up hurting the most are the consumers.
Yeah.
So pirates are not necessarily punished by the fact that, they can't crack the game, because they're not cracking the game in order to play it. Pirates and crackers and hackers and stuff have already bought the game, right? And they're tinkering with the files that they've legitimately acquired onto their computer. They're not doing it so that they can pirate the game. They're doing it so that they can get rid of the DRM, right? Yeah. So A, DRM kind of makes these people necessary. And B, they crack because they enjoy doing it. So you're only making more entertainment for them by, like, you're feeding them, basically, by making this sort of additional DRM and all the rest
feeding
of it.
Feeding the hackers.
You're galvanizing their community, in short.
Don't feed them after midnight.
Yeah, man, holy shit. But, like, but the people who are suffering because of this are not the hackers, because, mark my words, Assassin's Creed Origins will be cracked within the next couple of weeks or so, right?
Yeah.
So it will have been out within a month, cracked anyway, right? And either upon the crack coming out, Ubisoft will have to patch all this nasty DRM out of the game, or they'll be faced with the controversy of having the cracked DRM-free version turn in dramatically better performance than the version that people have paid for. And once again, the problem will be there, not that people are pirating the game because they're dirty thieves and because they don't have any money, but they're pirating the game because the legitimate consumer experience is inferior.
Yeah.
Because that's always been the reason why I've pirated stuff, is wherever the experience is inferior in the paid for commercial version, I'll run a crack instead.
Yeah. I think that's sort of a nice
round off on that
round
particular
up for that.
topic.
Yeah, I think we should maybe go a bit more positive.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And talk about things that are
video games that we play and that we like.
Yeah, and obviously, I think the biggest thing that I really want to talk about is, of course, Mario Odyssey.
Oh, dude.
Everyone and their mum is busy talking about Mario Odyssey, and being the only video game podcast, I think we should probably throw our hats into the ring.
I'm surprised that everyone and their mum hasn't
intended.
started a video game podcast yet, because that's it's quite a decent it's quite a decent name for a YouTube channel, isn't it? That everyone and their mum. Do you know what? I should get like a Squarespace account and like sit on the everyone and their mum URL.
I mean, we could launch like a parody sort of franchise. Yeah. We'll have our plug and play stuff, and then we'll have a parody of everyone and their mum.
Everyone and their mum. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone and their mum. Hey.
I imagine it'd be like a sort of unboxing video or something.
Hi, I'm everyone, and I'm mum.
So yeah, Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
Mario Odyssey. We'll put that in our business plan.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll put that we'll put that in the quarterly strategy.
Yeah. So I have finished Mario Odyssey. I have not 100% completed Mario Odyssey, as those are two different things. And it is most likely my game of the year, at least so far.
Yeah.
It's just so bright and colourful, and it makes this very dark world a bit brighter, a bit of a happier place.
Everybody, the entire audience, simultaneously after three. 1, 2, 3. Oh.
At least I think so.
Yeah, no, it looks super cute and fun and colourful and energetic and exciting and everything
it doesn't,
a 3D Mario game should be. Pure escapism.
And get this. So you unlock costumes and hats in the game.
Yeah.
And you unlock them through playing. It's this really foreign concept, I know. There aren't any loot boxes. It's really weird. You actually have to play the game and collect the coins and use that to buy stuff.
Christ, imagine that.
I know, it's so weird as well, because nobody else is doing it.
It's never been done in the history of video games, that. Gotta say. Very impressed.
Yeah, I mean, shall we talk a bit about Mario Odyssey?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you haven't played it.
It's dangling just out of reach, unfortunately. I swear I'll get a Switch at some point. I'll do it, and it'll be great.
Well, a conveniently short bit of news. This is just a short bit. Nintendo are producing more Switches.
Well, about time, because the price has gone up to about... It's supposed to retail for like $279, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's... like they're being sold for at least $330 second hand in local CEX, which for you non-British folk is like a second-hand electronics store. You can sell stuff to them, right? And as with all kind of in-store trade-ins, they give an obscenely higher value in like in-store credit than they do in actual cash. I've sold laptops and stuff to them before. It's really tragic, but so you might finally be able to get one now, because apparently Nintendo are planning to produce between 25 and 30 million Switches during the next fiscal year. Well, good.
Which is a lot. It's a lot of Switches.
Yeah, I mean that is a lot of Switches.
I hope they sell them.
Hopefully they'll produce a few Super Nintendo Classic Minis as well.
Oh yeah, I'd love to get my hands on one of those.
I could get my hands on one of those, but I'm not paying £140 for something that's supposed to retail for half that much. Literally half that much.
Is it 140? When I was looking, it was 170.
Yeah. Oh no, for a second-hand one.
But yeah, back to Mario Odyssey. I don't see. There's so much that you can say, but I also wouldn't want to ruin it's one of those games where you want everyone to play it, but you also can't tell them why, because in doing so would ruin what makes the game so fun and unique. In my mind, it's a lot like Breath of the Wild, in that Breath of the Wild was about taking sort of the core Zelda concepts and just giving you this massive sort of open world play box to go.
Yeah.
Have your adventure in.
Speaking of Legend of Zelda, I need to talk to you about. So.
Oh, can I finish?
Yeah. No, sure.
And Mario Odyssey has the same sort of feeling in that it's taking a lot of Mario 64 is running through this game. It's taking the core concept of that and just giving you these massive levels. Some of them, far too a literal desert, which is literally soaked away. Well, figuratively, taken away many hours of my life as I traipse through a desert.
Yeah, my God. And it wasn't even Assassin's Creed Origins.
And it wasn't even Assassin's Creed Origins desert, no.
Excellent.
But it's also bright and colourful.
Yeah.
I've said that before. The movement is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Do you know, I played like 5 minutes of it.
Yeah, especially when you start to master sort of the jumps and flips and hat throwing and sort of combining them together. So you can start skipping platforming challenges just by being good enough to do a somersault into a hat throw, into a dive, into another dive.
It was at, somebody brought Switch and Mario Odyssey along to Computer Society. It's my university computer and video game society. It's really good, actually. like it's a great game. It controls brilliantly, and you can when you complete the game. I'll spoil this. One of the bonuses,
probably skip ahead like a minute or something,
like 10 seconds or something. But like when you complete the game, one of the bonuses that you get an N64 style Mario costume.
Oh,
so you can get the Mario 64 skin. I was just like, it's fantastic. It's really cool. It's awesome. It's great.
It is.
Because I'm actually replaying. I'm playing through Mario 64 again at the moment. I'm about 40 stars in.
Yeah.
Out of 80. I'm not sure actually. Some of the earlier worlds I've been going for 100% completion. But the reason why I did that in the early worlds is because it's harder to get a higher number of stars the further and later you go into the game. And tick-tock clock is really frustrating. So I thought like, you know what, if I can make up the number to complete the game, I can just go to the final Bowser level as soon as I like hit peak amounts of fun. Think, all right, that's enough. You know, I don't want to ruin the memory. I don't want to like overstay my welcome in Peach's castle. I just complete it so that I'm not too frustrated by the time the credits roll.
Yeah. I mean, at least for me, I know those first few worlds right now like the back of my hand.
What, in Odyssey?
To the point that... No, not in Odyssey, in Mario 64.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, dude.
Like Bomb on Battlefield, not Die Dots.
Thwomp's Fortress.
See,
Thwomp's Fortress.
Yeah, Thwomp's Fortress.
Come on, how
See,
can
I say,
you? Oh,
I
hold
say
on.
I know them, and then I
How
can't
do you not
remember
know the
their
names of literally all of the Mario 64 levels, dude? Come on. Bob-omb Battlefield, Thwomp's Fortress, Cool Cool Mountain, Dire Docks.
That's not in the correct order, though.
Well,
it
yeah,
is.
No.
Jolly Roger Bay. There we go. Cool map.
Yeah, Jolly Roger Bay. I
About,
forgot it was called that. No, Dire Docks is the other water level where you have to jump on Bowser's submarine. It's the one before Bowser in the Lava World, I think. Yeah, it's the one before the second boss rush, anyway. And then there's
up to Big Boo's Horn or the Hazy Maze.
The Hazy Maze Cave. Oh man,
I can just play them and get all the
Shifting
stars,
Sandland,
and I know exactly where they
Lethal
are.
Lava Land.
Up until
Lethal Lava Land's great, dude. Like when you get into the volcano, oh man, some of the precision jumps you have to make there, absolutely gut wrenching. Even today, and I am shocked by how well the controls have aged. Because you get games,
I think comparatively, compared to Mario Odysseys, because I always felt, at least in Mario 64, Mario always felt a bit sort of sluggish in that. I mean, I know he's a fairly large Italian plumber.
He really
he has a lot of weight to him.
There's a lot of weight. That's actually one of the things I quite like about Mario 64 is that there's a good balance of when he jumps, he feels very light. It almost feels like a rubber band, right? So while you're running and moving, there's a very definite sense of direction and punch to the way he moves, right? And when you change direction on a joystick, it really feels like you're lurching quite dramatically in another direction. But when you jump, it's like this almost tension release, and he sort of bursts into the air in this sort of featherweight bounce, this stride. It's really, really liberating. It feels great to play, actually, Mario 64, even now. And the thing that I really love doing in that I'm so glad that you can do in Odyssey as well, is crouch while running and then jump for a dive. So I dive everywhere in Mario 64. It's slightly nerfed for Odyssey, but only really, I think, because it seems a little bit too effective. It's a little bit OP, and it's a little bit gimpy.
Especially with the cap thrown in, because you can dive off the cap.
Yeah, no, you can.
And you get so much air time and stuff off it. It's ridiculous.
You can do some serious combos. You can wave dash and L cancel, man. No, it's not quite that. But thumbs up for whoever gets that reference. But Mario's moveset in Mario 64 is one of his best traits in that game, and it's one of the things about that game that has aged brilliantly. And I've maintained, actually, shall we just go through sort of the legacy of 3D Mario games?
I mean, we can do. Sure.
Fine, go for it. I know that back when we were on the student radio, we went through this multiple times. We've covered this topic to death. So let's see how much of it you remember. But
oh gosh,
other than a few standout factors that date it, my opinion is that Mario 64 is the closest that the Mario series has come to having a perfect 3D Mario game.
Yeah. Well, I would argue that now Odyssey is my perfect Mario
your
game.
Perfect 3D Mario game. And when I was doing sort of predictions for its release, I thought that, well, you know what? It seems like a version of Mario 64, but with the ridiculous 90-degree snapping camera problems fixed. And because I mean, even Sonic Adventure managed to do better than that. Jesus Christ! And that game's aged like milk. But I always imagine it being a version of Mario 64 with a sort of more free-form levels in which you can complete the quests kind of in the order that you want, right? Like you can do what you see. You're not railroaded to quite the same extent that you are in, say, Sunshine, for example. So like a Mario 64 in its form and layout and the kind of ebb and flow of its gameplay, but with tightened controls, more consistent hit detection, a better camera, basically just a polished 2017 Mario 64.
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, let me tell you, Jack, there is a polished 2017 Mario 64 available now for purchase.
Yeah, and it's Mario Odyssey. That was going to be my one question. Because the reason why Mario Sunshine fell short, in my opinion, I'm not a massive fan of Mario Sunshine. And you know this, Rob, so I'll try and keep it brief.
Yeah, I know, and you know my opinion on Mario Sunshine.
Yeah, no, you absolutely love it. Yeah. So it's
fantastic.
One of the problems with Mario 64 was that it could get kind of repetitive because you had to go into the self-same environments again and again and again to grind stars to reach the total necessary to climb the endless stairs and, get to the final boss, right? So you would end up playing Bob-omb Battlefield 5 times in a single playthrough, Well, that kind of sucks, but it's nothing compared to the fact that Mario Sunshine took the stage count from 15 to 7. So already there are under half as many stages, but they're all tropical beach resort, seaside town themed.
Yeah. I mean, I will admit that Mario 64, the sort of variety of the stages was certainly a lot more eccentric. I would say
it was a lot more compelling, I think.
While Mario Sunshine stages, they were all ironically sunshine themed. Yeah. They were all very beachy. I would argue that they still cover a lot of sort of bases, and that you have the sort of port area. You have the theme park level, which name I
Pina
forget.
Park.
I always enjoy.
Pina honestly. Park. All right. Okay.
You had you had the beach level itself with the awful sandbird that I hate.
The thing is, the sandbird didn't even give me too much trouble. What gave me trouble was Pina motherfucking Park. God, I hate that stage. It honestly just gives me I don't know how to describe it. It's this sort of almost prickly feeling on the back of my neck. This sweat and anger and blood pressure and just like boiling rage brewing deep within me. I get a sort of sensory shock every time I hear the music. Oh my God. Because
anyway.
Oh man, staying on the swinging pirate boats to get the red coin and climbing up the scaffolding. It was the climbing up the scaffolding on the back of the tower in the sort of theme park area in Pina Park. The red coins mission, man. Oh God, it just drove me absolutely insane. Not knowing how to get on the windmill properly and trying to climb onto the little the seats on the Ferris wheel and slipping off instantly and falling right down to the very bottom and having to climb back up the back of the tower again. It's just like, oh man. It's like every single level in Mario Sunshine was TikTok clock.
Yeah.
Is a good analogy. It's TikTok clock, but they're all tropical themed. There are only 7 of them, and you have to get to the 7th mission on each. So, fine, sure, there's variety within the overall aesthetic theme of the game, right? But you have to play each level 7 times in order to get to, defeating Baby Bowser. It just, oh man.
Bowser Jr.
I can't remember what his fucking name was. Shadow Mario, Oh, yeah. Oh, we have an evil dark version of the main character in this 3D platformer now, and he comes along occasionally and menaces you, and the authorities have mistaken the good guy main character for this dark character. Well, I wonder where I've seen this before. Oh, anyone played Sonic Adventure 2?
I knew you were
which came out not 2 years before Super Mario Sunshine. In fact, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle was a launch title for the GameCube. Sonic Adventure 2, you cannot tell me that GameCube owners did not play Sonic Adventure 2 before they played Mario Sunshine, because not only was it a launch title, but it's also the highest selling GameCube game that was not a Nintendo game.
Yeah.
Man,
shall we move on quickly to save your blood pressure?
Even the render on the front of the box art for Super Mario Sunshine is ripped off one of the promotional CG renders for the original Sonic Adventure. The pose is exactly the same. Man, I like FLUDD.
Hang on, I have to look this up now.
It's genuinely true.
Mario Sunshine box art.
Yeah, it's ripped off one of the promotional renders from Sonic Adventure 1. So, dude,
Well, shall we quickly move on? What were your thoughts on Mario Galaxy then? The last
Mario Galaxy was good. I liked it.
was.
I did like it, but I thought that like
I thought while it was more streamlined in that the levels were no longer these big sort of sprawling
sandboxes, basically.
Yeah, they were a lot more. There's a lot more A to B, but there was also a lot more of them.
They were more linear. It felt like it was. It had this sort of like a level design that I can only describe as a bit like anal beads, where you get these like little micro planets, each with its own mini challenge. It felt like a collection of like mini Mario levels strung
Could you not have said like
together.
A string with like some tennis balls threaded through it, or something, or some
what
beads?
do you imagine? What do you imagine? Where like
just like a necklace? You didn't like the fact that you went to that
a string of sort of balls
beads on a necklace
of increasing difficulty, right? So there's the increasing size that you have to work through one by one in a procedural linear order, right? Dude, it's fucking anal beads, okay? Like the process of playing,
we're going to lose half of
the process of playing Super Mario Galaxy is like shoving anal beads. And don't get me wrong, like as much of a fan of anal beads as I am, that kind of level design in a video game is not preferable to Mario 64's. And I thought that it really did quite a lot of harm to the player's agency when moving through a level, and secondly, like the overall flow of each map. There were some more sort of sprawling Mario 64-esque stages. There was like a water level, a really, really nice sort of almost tropical water level in Mario Galaxy, which I really liked. And the freeze flame stuff was a great way of combining the classic, oh, it's the fire level, oh, it's the water level, it's the ice level trope. You know, that was pretty clever. That was pretty clever. But I don't know, you know, it never it never inspired me as much as 64. And then of course you have 3D World.
Oh, I mean, just to conclude on Galaxy, at least for me, I think it sort of lost the nature of the sandbox, but I think it sort of replaced that with all the gravity manipulation and
the gravity stuff.
It was cool. Doing a lot of other things, I guess, and rather than having a big area for you to explore, it instead had a bunch of new mechanics and new ideas.
I think it has a problem with difficulty balancing.
Yeah. I mean, I like Mario Galaxy. I don't appreciate having to play the whole game again as Luigi to unlock the final level.
Yeah,
I think that's
a
bit
lot of
cruel.
repeated content. It avoids some of the problems in Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine with repeated content. Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't really like having to use the Wii remote either. I don't like. I have a pathological distaste for waggle controls. And then there was, of course, you know, after that you got Mario 3D World.
3D Land.
3D Land and 3D World, yeah.
Do you want to include 3D Land?
Yeah, Land and World, whatever. Like,
I would argue that I liked Land a lot more than I liked World.
I never played Land.
Land was, well, it was the 3D Mario game on the 3DS. Yeah. But, if you imagine Mario 3D World, but a bit smaller in sort of a sense that because in 3D World the levels tend to be a bit more open plan because they've got to try and fit 4 characters on there.
They almost felt
where everything.
Almost felt like levels that would be more welcome in like a Sonic game, for example. The level design was very Sonic. But it was also like, I think they tried to go a lot more for the aesthetic of the early like the 2D Mario games. Like a lot of the levels are very dimensional in one aspect. Like it'll be a straightforward run to the finish or a straightforward run from left to right, but each platform you can run around in 3D space on. I don't know. Yeah. Like the structure felt like a Mario 3 or a Super Mario World, but with almost Sonic-esque level design in some aspects, in its sort of like goal-focused linearity. But I don't know, it was a weird one, and I didn't really. I felt good when I played 3D World for the first time. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, it's a fun
Yeah.
experience, and
And the music.
It's a well put together
man.
game.
The music is so good.
I would argue Mario 3D Land knew what it wanted to be a bit more. There's a lot more
Yeah.
sort of focus on the 3D gimmick in itself. So a lot of levels, like my favourite level is one of the levels in Mario 3D Land is you're going downhill. So you start at like the top and you're slowly working your way to the flagpole, which is at the bottom of this level. And a lot of the time the camera is like really high above you. So if you've got the 3D on, you suddenly get all of this depth and you can see the flagpole at
Yeah.
the bottom and you're sort of working your way down to it.
Yeah. So I never
And
really liked the 3D effect in the 3DS anyway. So I don't know. It probably would have left me. I haven't. As I said, I haven't played 3D Land, but 3D World. I don't know. I just thought it like
It was
sort of-
okay. It didn't do anything
it
wrong.
furthered the more linear
really.
aspects of Mario Galaxy, but at least the levels were more cohesive than Galaxies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a little bit less inspired. I might say. I don't know. I
Yeah.
like it. It didn't really excite me in quite the way that Mario Odyssey does. So Mario
Yeah.
Odyssey is that
Wow.
perfect Mario 64 formula, but bug fixed
I think-
effectively for a modern age, and at 60 frames per second as well, because that was another thing, is that 64 and Sunshine were limited to only 30. So yeah,
Yeah,
That's
Well,
future-proofed it, in my
runs
opinion.
Fantastically, and because of the portability of the
Yeah.
Switch, it's absolutely perfect for. And I do it a lot, picking it up for like 10 minutes.
oh yeah, I can imagine.
And because the collectibles, at least in the previous Mario games, the collectibles were like this big thing. You do a big 10, 15-minute level and you would get 1 star.
Yeah.
Whereas in Odyssey, you can get a Power Moon for literally just walking somewhere or ground pounding something that looks a bit suspicious. Like, they're a lot easier to get, but there's also a lot more of them. But it means that you can have these great little 10-minute gameplay sessions where you'll get 2 or 3 Power Moons. And you'll be like, yay, I did something. And then you put the Switch down and, do whatever else you were doing
yeah.
before that you needed a distraction from. It's fantastic for that. Whereas Breath of the Wild always felt a bit more of a at least for me, a bit more of a sit down, right? I'm going to spend half an hour to an hour doing an adventure.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
It felt like, I don't like to use the word cinematic, but Breath of the Wild felt a bit more sort of, this is a big, grand, you're on a big,
it felt
grand
like,
adventure,
it felt like you
you're
were
a
there.
hero.
It didn't feel like you were there to get, you weren't stopping for a coffee and donuts, basically. You were appreciating a work of art.
Yeah.
You spend time with it like you would spend time like appreciating a fine painting or a wine or going on a date or something like that. It wasn't your stop in McDonald's at 11:30 at night, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, but
I should.
But Mario
I should-
Odyssey is like a really nice McDonald's that you enjoy.
I should
a lot.
explain. I don't really like. I don't not really talking about that in the sense of ranking each experience
comparatively.
in its relative greatness, but it's
That's good. I
more
just wanted to
like
ensure
the circumstantial use case of that experience rather than the grandiosity of the experience itself, shall we say. I'm going for all the big words today, man. Holy shit.
I know, it's good. You're sort of like
Like a walking
medieval
yeah,
aristocrat.
like a walking dictionary. Like, I am a medieval aristocrat. I like that, actually. Yeah.
Those are some fancy words. So yeah, have you got any more thoughts on Mario Odyssey or Mario in general as a sort of roundup? Because we're hitting an
Thine
hour.
hast coveredeth it brilliantly, forsooth, mine squire.
So,
Sorry, you said
Oh,
medieval
sure.
aristocrat, and I had to. Oh, gosh. But no, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the other 3D platformer that got released this month.
Oh, of course we can talk about that. A Hat in Time is fantastic. I mean, I'd love to talk about, hat-based platformers. I'm dodging the subject. I, of course, know what you're actually
of course.
talking about.
It's funny you should mention hats specifically, because in the game to which I am referring, there is a character customization feature in which you can dress your custom character up in hats, amongst other things.
Now, I've played a lot of custom character games, and what I really hate, Jack, what I hate more than anything, is that a lot of the time these avatars are quite human.
It's so cliche. It's so done. I'm done making people, man. People is for Xbox avatars and the Me channel, right?
Me's.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me, does this game? It's going to be human avatars again, isn't it? And it's going to be so boring.
Let me give you a hint. It begins in an S and ends in Onic Forces.
Of course.
It's your furfag fantasy come true. It's my perverted 12-year-old internet dwelling self's secret wet dream. I can make my own. I can make my own Sonic OC, and it's canon, and I can play it in the game. That's.
Have you played the game?
No,
have you got it?
I haven't.
Oh,
I haven't.
I thought that's what you were leading into. You were going to tell us about it, because I want to get it, but I don't want to pay full price for it.
No, I'm not paying full price for it. The thing is, I know how a Sonic game is going to turn out from the footage. I could tell from the footage alone that there was something wrong with Sonic 4's physics, for example.
Yeah.
I could tell from the footage that Sonic Mania was going to be just like the originals.
Fantastic.
And it was a phenomenal experience, probably one of the best games I've ever played. It was a piece of love, every aspect of which screamed that the developers really, like, with every fiber of their being, wanted to be doing exactly what they were doing. The care and enthusiasm and knowledge and love, cliche as that term is, that was poured into making Sonic Mania, every drop of the experience that it ended up being, was really, really inspiring. And it was visible just from, you can smell it a mile away, right? Smells like blood, sweat, tears, and blue. But Sonic Forces, I don't know.
Well, from what I have yet to play it, so anything I say needs to be
I'm playing it tomorrow. A friend of mine, you obviously, Rob, you'll remember Will. It's coming.
A mutual friend.
I made another poor victim by it, and we're going to blitz through the whole thing tomorrow afternoon, basically.
Okay. Well, you shouldn't have any trouble, because I hear it's quite short.
Yeah.
I also hear that it's very hold the boost button down to win.
Yeah. It exemplifies all of the worst aspects, apparently, of the easiest parts of the Sonic Unleashed
Sonic
and kind of colorsy formula. So basically, from the preview footage, I saw that the level designs seemed to be very, like, oddly geometric looking, right? So objects, you could tell that the levels were made of quite basic design kits. So you get a lot of quite cubic looking, square-edged level design, where you get a lot of, like, basic shapes, and you sort of hold the shift key to place 10 of them in a row,
I feel like I've said this before, but at least with Sonic Generations, well, I say this before on our previous radio show, which no one will have heard of. In Sonic Generations, you do the level, like you play through City Escape and have a wonderful time, and then they'd have these little bonus challenges, and you'd have to do 3 or 4 of them before you could then play the next level. And these bonus challenges were quite clearly, they'd taken this lovely City Escape level they'd done and filled it with blocks and made you do platforming on the blocks.
Yeah, basically. So like they made the...
And unfortunately, that seems to be the mentality of Sonic Forces. Because Sonic Colors did the same thing as well.
I mean, you can talk about Sonic Colors if you want, but like Sonic Colors, each zone had like 6 acts. So how do you fit 6 acts in a zone in a Sonic game?
Well, the first act was the level, the nice. Here you go. Here's a massive 3D bit that works quite well, and some 2D bits, and it's all lovely.
In fact, people don't really remember this, but the daytime stages in Sonic Unleashed, they had a similar thing where, like, you got to the third act, and you got the on Windmill Isle, for example, you get to the third act, and the entire level is just a rail, and you have to jump occasionally. You know, the entire stage will be like a 1.5 minute vignette centered around a kind of sub aspect of Sonic's move kit with very basic geometric looking blocky level design that feels like it was assembled out of a very simplistic level design kit.
Probably because it was.
Probably because it was, right.
We can only speculate.
So like you get the same formation of enemies in you'll get like 7 enemies standing in like a V formation, for example, and you get that repeated like 3 or 4 times over again. You get like a massive cluster of rings, which in Sonic Forces I've seen are in an obscene abundance, and there's really no point for them to be because there's no life system in that game.
I mean, you've just cut out, but
sorry?
Yes, sure. You just cut out, so I missed most of your point.
Oh, sorry. Rings are available. Yeah, rings are available in abundance in Sonic Forces in kind of like a very like aggressive quantities of like you'll get like massive sort of grid patterns of hundreds and hundreds of rings, or like they'll fill secrets with like 10 ring boxes, and they're not used as a currency in the game, and they're not used for life. So what the fuck are the rings for?
Does Sonic shout about the rings every time he collects them, like in Sonic Boom?
Well, oh man,
does he shout bounce pad when he goes off a bounce pad?
Yeah, and probably exactly like that as well.
Rings.
So like the obnoxious in-level dialogue and character banter is there in full force. There's this absolutely cringeworthy cutscene where Vector the Crocodile goes, "Whoa, that's not good," and then Knuckles replies, "None of this is good, Vector. That's why it's called war." And it's just like, oh my god. I'm going to cut... if this gets any edgier, I am going to cut myself on one of Sonic's spines. It's absurd. It's like to have these colourful, furry animal cartoon characters and this dark brooding, "The world has ended. You are the resistance. #resist." You know, it's just like...
Yeah.
It's absurd.
What got me...
And you get this blocky, simplistic geometric level design, these short vignette-like levels that over-focus on like
holding the
weird minutiae of Sonic's move kit, and the entire game is made up of that. It's like, but when are the real levels? When is the organic, winding, branching level design, the feeling of relative freedom, and the malleability of Sonic's moveset in Sonic Generations? Because you could break into a drift at any time. You know, you could drift on a flat pathway in Generations if you wanted to. You could break out the quick step where it didn't necessarily tell you to use it. You can use the slide. The slide move for going under obstacles is still around in Sonic Forces. You can do it in Sonic Forces, but it's never used.
What, there isn't like a single bit of level that...
No, you can slide in Forces, or so I've been led to believe, but it's not really used at all. Chaos, for example, the enemy Chaos from Sonic Adventure makes a comeback in a horrible cut, like one of the worst cutscenes I've ever seen, where Tails becomes an absolute quivering wreck, and it's like the symbol of Sega's desecration of the last 20-something years of their history, and that this iconic enemy from Sonic Adventure comes back, who we were never really supposed to see again, because the context of his existence was wrapped up in a very complete arc within Sonic Adventure's quite serious story. And Tails' character development was, I can exist without Sonic, and I can do things without Sonic. And Sonic Adventure 2 explores that theme further, where he avenges Sonic's supposed death at the hands of Eggman by blowing the crap out of him, right? And he earns his independence. He earns the title of not being a gimpy kiddie sidekick anymore. But we see that, like, they say in one of the cutscenes, Tails has gone to pieces. He's absolutely inconsolable. It's like, no, like the Tails from the Sonic Adventure games would have picked up a fucking gun and blatzed Eggman
Got
up,
some
right?
revenge.
You know, it would have been
Yeah.
fucking ghetto Tales in the Hood with the 9mm, like, which, by the way,
Well-
he probably would have handmade himself. But no, there's this horrible cutscene in which Chaos appears out of nowhere. Chaos Zero, by the way, so with no Chaos Emeralds in him. So for those not in the know, Chaos, his main gimmick is that he can eat more Chaos Emeralds and become massive, right? Tails
Yeah.
fought him with 4 Chaos Emeralds on his own in Sonic Adventure. Like, canon, that's real canon shit. That happened. Like, Sonic was with him at the time, sure, but he's not going to crap himself at the monster's weakest, at his weakest form. And he's sort of cowering cringingly in a corner, and they sort of shoehorn classic Sonic in. And then the jingle,
he was no
so like,
reason being
he has
there.
no reason to be in the game whatsoever, right? Other than nostalgia baiting.
Sonic Generations had him.
Yeah, nostalgia baiting and recalling memories of Sonic Generations. It's unfortunate that they bothered recalling memories from Sonic Generations because it's a far fucking superior game. And he appears and you hear the jingle in the background, the da 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 from Sonic Mania, and it's just like, don't insult me. You know, don't insult me. This is not that game. This is not even remotely close to as good as any of those games were. It just makes me angry, you know. It just upsets me because, like, I'm very emotionally invested in Sonic as a franchise, and you can really tell this sort of like cheap and watered down budget experience with crap level design, a mediocre soundtrack, and there were arguments leading up to its release about whether or not aesthetically it even looked as good as Sonic Generations. And sure, it has modern game engine features like, I don't know, the materials look more realistic, and the foliage is filled out in a slightly higher density. But it just looks colorless and lifeless and like this sort of pale, like, I don't know, cheap Chinese knockoff of I mean, it's like
I mean, I was going to ask, have you seen, there was a YouTube video I saw the other day, and it shows you the sort of, the first enemy you encounter in a Sonic game.
Oh, no, I've seen
normally,
the one.
like, for example, the one in Sonic Colors is just sort of the nice orange branded egg death robot type thing, I think he's holding a sign saying welcome, and if you stand in front of him, it takes a good 5 minutes, but eventually he'll stop, not 5 minutes, 5 seconds, but he'll stop dancing and he'll take a swing at you,
and that's the thing.
with his welcome sign.
There's enough attention to detail put in not only Colors, but in Generations as well, that they put in very deliberate detail for people who, you know, want to stop and look around and like run up and see the enemy. They'll lunge at you. You know, the crabs, the enemy crabs in the first in Green Hill Zone in Sonic Generations fire missiles. And when you're just boosting through the level and homing attacking and exploiting Sonic's main move set, you don't get that to quite the same extent that, you know, that you would if you were just walking through. But it's there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, from what I've seen in Sonic Forces, at least the first bunch of enemies you encounter don't do anything. They just stand there.
Yeah,
which is quite funny, because according to the story, these robots have taken over the world. But they seem pretty ineffectual when you actually encounter
bland,
them.
uninspired looking. Now, I criticised Sonic Team.
Oh, they're a
I
horrible
criticised
grey.
Sonic Team for continually reusing the enemy designs from Sonic Heroes. But at least they had some like distinct defining characteristics, right? Like the enemies, I love the enemies. I love the enemies that have personality. You know, the enemies that have personality were the Kikis from Sonic Adventure that throw bombs at you because they looked mischievous, right? And their idle animations, they hopped around from leg to leg, and they were kind of menacing, and they would mock you. They would wave at you and then throw a bomb and blow you up, and then giggle about it afterwards. And they had cute little sound effects too. And again, in Sonic Adventure, they had the spinner enemies. They had they're these sort of like hovering enemies that spin menacingly, and they had a very nasty, menacing expression. And they came back in Sonic Generations as well. They're homing attack fodder for sure, right? But at least they contribute to the level design in some way. The Sonic Forces enemies are just lumps. They're just useless.
Well, they're just spheres with
they're
two
just
red
designed
eyes.
to make
I'm looking at them now
to add extra garnish to the boost effect. You know, it's just like, oh, when you're designed to boost through that part of the level anyway, and it's surgically constructed so that you'll never run out of boost. God forbid. Oh yeah, and Sonic's moveset's been watered down too. They didn't bother removing the slide, but the drift is gone. Yeah, there's
really?
no drift.
I thought the custom character had like a sort of drift,
Yes.
like they fire something into
Yeah,
the
but
side.
it only activates. It's context dependent. It only activates automatically when you go through drift-specific sections of the stage. It's very, very railroaded, like alarmingly so. Someone looked at the Sonic Forces credits, actually. Apparently, the level design team is like half the size of the one for Generations. I don't know what the hell is going on over at Sonic Team, but I genuinely get the feeling that their heart's not in it, and I can really, really tell, and it's kind of upsetting in a way because Mario Kishimoto is the director of Sonic Forces, right? He was.
I'm trying to think. What was the last game they made that wasn't a Sonic? Was it Billy Hatcher? It couldn't have been Billy Hatcher.
It was Knight's Journey of Dreams, I think, and it was Sonic Team USA. I actually, do you know what? I think there might have been a 3DS game a couple of years ago, which was.
Hang on, I'm looking up now.
Yeah, no, for sure, do that. But like, So the current Sonic team have been on that team since the Sonic Adventure days, right?
They did Puyo Puyo Tetris.
Yeah, no, Puyo Puyo Tetris was a decent one.
It's looking very Sonic-y.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. So like, so Mario Kishimoto, he's been around since Sonic and the Secret Rings, which was, I mean, by design, that game was linear because it was like an endless runner. You were constantly moving forward. Like Sonic and the Black Knight, which again, you had this sort of very vignette-like minute-long level design that focused on a sub-minutia of the gameplay. Sonic Colors, which had the same problem in the later acts in Zones. And actually, I thought that Sonic Colors had a really clunky jump rate.
I mean, I feel... Because I haven't gone back and replayed it recently, but I feel like Generations was the most refined.
So, like
of Sonic's
the director
movement.
of Sonic Forces, the only like Sonic game in recent memory, really, since Secret Rings and Black Knight, that he doesn't have a credit on, is Generations.
Yeah,
which is kind of telling, actually. The Lost World, I absolutely detested. I hated it. I've been sort of piecemeal working my way through Lost World level by level over the last couple of years, and it is a bitter pill to swallow, man. I could talk all day on how much I don't like Lost World. Sonic Colors is like, I mean, it was polished but mediocre in my opinion. Sonic and the Black Knight, absolutely detestable waste of space. Sonic and the Secret Rings is. I mean, a lot of people liked it at the time because, gotta go fast, and this is fast enough. But I don't know, the level design and controls were kind of worthless.
Yeah.
But this guy, to date, has not produced a Sonic game that I like. So,
are you suggesting some sort of correlation?
If I'm pointing fingers at what went wrong with Sonic Forces, I could say possibly budget cuts. I could say staff cuts. I could say the team doesn't really care about it anymore. Their heart's not really in it. I could say Mario Kishimoto doesn't know what he's doing with Sonic and never has. I don't know. Like,
well, I think
I haven't even played it yet, and I'm already talking all this smack. It's just like.
Well, maybe
but
next
all of my
week,
predictions, lo and
when
behold,
you come
I
on.
swear to God, people aren't going to believe me, but I predicted all of this stuff on seeing the previews.
I mean, you predicted a lot of it, yes.
Well, a lot of this stuff on seeing the previews, like not the missing game mechanics. I didn't predict that, and I didn't predict that the levels were going to be so consistently short all the way through the game. And consistently short and basic, but like the blocky, like obviously kit-based level design, the gameplay not being that deep anymore. No, I saw that one coming. Like even from from the very beginning, I was like, something's not quite right here, because they are treading ground that has been proven not to work in Sonic, and I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's time to ditch the boost formula altogether, because it was very clear that Generations, being probably, it's one of the best games I've ever played. Generations, probably the second or third best game in the entire series, at least, you know.
It's certainly, at least for me, the best of the 3D
games.
for
sure.
I mean, I love Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, but like
more than anyone.
But Sonic Generations being far more recent, it's aged a lot better and it's a lot more polished, and that's very obvious, if nothing else. But yeah, Sonic Generations was an absolutely fantastic game, but it's very clear that it was just a bit of a flash in the pan and a bit of a fluke in a lot of ways. And it's a shame that the director of that game, whose name unfortunately escapes me, hasn't really worked on any Sonic stuff since. But I'd get him back. I'd get that entire team back, man. And they said, from the team that bought you Colors and Generations. Like, it's from some of the people who bought you Colors, but the spirit of Generations, the high APM fast action stress test of all of Sonic's moves and abilities and your faculties as a player rolled into one tight, fast, rewarding. It was very diverse in terms of design experience, right?
Yeah,
it's not there anymore.
Well, I mean, Forces reuses a lot of the level, because I know it does Green Hill, but now it's sand. They definitely do Chemical Plant.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the first two levels in Generations were Green Hill and Chemical Plant. And it worked in Generations because you hadn't seen those levels for about 15 years when Generations came out. You hadn't seen those levels since they were new, right? So it was new in Generations, and then Mania comes out, and it's like, well, it's that aesthetic and that idiom was very much like, what if we did a genuine sequel to the original Sonic games? And they were so different in theme and style, not just from a superficial sense, but in a gameplay sense as well, from the original Green Hill and Chemical Plant. So it was excusable there. But to have two Sonic games releasing in such a short time span, like, it's Green Hill and Chemical Plant Zone. It's like, no, I never want to see them again, frankly, because I'm so overfed with it. Like, we're saturated in nostalgia baiting old Sonic levels. It's like they turned soul searching into resting on their laurels. You know, they looked inside of that franchise and saw what people liked, but it's very clear that the only part of that they developed a permanent grasp of was the superficial. And they've been relying on that to such an extent now that it's just exhausting. And it would be fine if the quality was improving, but it's degraded since Generations, and certainly since Mania. Those two games are absolutely fucking fantastic. They are the best 3D and the best 2D Sonic games of the entire series, and they are half the price, if not less, of Sonic Forces. So do you know what? Do yourselves a favor, guys, and get Sonic Generations and get Sonic Mania, get the PC versions, or even like the PS4 version of Sonic Forces, the Xbox One version. And Digital Foundry had an analysis up, and apparently the Xbox One versions and the Switch version are having performance problems at the moment. Hopefully that's going to be patched out, but the PC and PS4 versions are great.
I thought, the Switch, I didn't think the Switch version was having problems so much as it was running at 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
And the graphics had been toned down
So,
considerably.
whatever platform you get Mania on, it's a fantastic masterpiece. And Sonic Generations, you play that on the PC for your 60 FPS and all of the garnish that, PC gaming entails. If you've got like a good computer, there's no experience like it. That should run at max spec at 4K on a gaming laptop nowadays. Will Sonic Generations brilliantly optimized. But if you want a Sonic experience, get Mania, get Generations, play them through to completion. Let me tell you now, you will not be disappointed. Those games are absolutely fantastic. But Forces, I mean, I don't want to buy it. I don't want to play it.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out next
Yeah,
week.
you'll find out next week. I've talked enough about it already. But
Yeah.
these are my
quick.
predictions, okay? And the review scores
Okay.
and what other people have said about it and the gameplay footage and all the rest of it support my predictions. I'm going to try and play it unprejudiced tomorrow, but it's going to be real difficult at this point. And I've been burned enough times by Sonic Team to have
Sonic
no
Team
doubts.
have hurt you before in the past.
Sorry?
Sonic Team have hurt you
Yeah,
before.
honestly, it's like being genuinely,
wanna
it's like
go
being in an
back.
abusive relationship at this point, isn't it? I don't know why I keep on giving them my money. My God, I might not.
Well,
might
at least
not
we had-
buy it in protest.
At least we had the more sort of uplifting ending of, if you want a true Sonic experience, Generations
Oh,
of
yeah.
Mania. I think that is probably a good time
Yeah.
to wrap up.
Oh, dude.
now, don't you think?
It's been a really emotional episode. We covered a lot of bases, actually. I like the 90-minute form factor. Do you know what this could be like a sort of a kind of a special first episode, because I suppose that we originally targeted an hour, but
An hour.
hey, you know what, 2 hours will do. And when I get it takes me a while to get into my consistent flow, my mindset. But when I do, man, it's good fun.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm not the one who's going to have to edit this hour and a
No,
half.
gosh.
Audio extravaganza together.
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
But yes, it's been fun, and hopefully you will look forward to coming back
Yeah.
next week. Not you, Jack. You, the
Yeah,
audience.
yeah.
I mean, hopefully you're looking forward to coming back.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, I love doing it every week, and it's really good, and it's evoking strong and
Stable leadership.
no strong strong and passionate memories of sitting in that recording studio in the university and doing this for our then small listenership, which will hopefully grow. So thanks for coming on this journey with us and hearing us prattle on about 3D platformers and the gaming industry for an hour and a half, and I guess we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Just to sort of summarize, I've been
I've
Rob.
been Jack, and this has been Plug and Play.
Yeah. Speaking of plugging, very quickly, do you have anything you want to plug, Jack?
Well, soon I will be releasing music under an as yet undisclosed alias, but hopefully by the end of November, beginning of December 2017, for those listening years in the future, that stuff will all be out and ready to be plugged and distributed. So watch this space.
Okay, what's
Fantastic.
it? And if you want to follow me on Twitter, which is my main sort of thing, it's robo_chiz. If you want, I try to post the sort of nice art stuff that I see. I like retweet it.
And make sure you follow us on SoundCloud or wherever we'll be posting this. Whatever your platform
and
of choice
subscribe
is.
If
And
it's
subscribe.
Subscribe if it's on
Like,
YouTube.
comment,
Like
and
if
all
it's
the
on
rest of it.
Facebook.
Thank you very much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Plug and Play.